If you've ever wondered what it's like to build a successful business as a Black African woman, well, this is the video you've been waiting for because I'm going to tell you the truth, the harsh truth about what it really feels like to be building a business as a Black African woman, especially living in Canada. So, if you're new here, hi, I'm Kome. I'm a business coach, and on this channel, I talk about business, how to make money online, and content creation for entrepreneurs. So, if that's your jam, hit the subscribe button and join the community. Now, recently, I was having a conversation with a friend, and we were both talking about the fact that we've been in business for a while, but there is still something that keeps happening, and we were just rubbing minds about it. Interestingly, Kim Kardashian released a masterclass where she was talking about the same exact thing. And so I want to break the ice around here because I feel like I don't want to do just feel good content. I want to have real conversations. So, the number one and the craziest thing that has been happening, even as a woman, and add on top of it as an African woman, is the fact that people just underestimate you for some reason. They look at you and they assume that you got to where you are because someone handed it to you on a platter of gold, or maybe you played your way, you won some sort of lottery to get where you are. And in the beginning, it used to hurt my feelings when people would just treat me differently because they just assumed they knew how I got to where I was or how I was building my business or things like that. But the more I've had conversations with other African women, other Black successful entrepreneurs, the more I'm seeing that it's not a me thing, it's a trend. It's everywhere. And I just want to use that opportunity to address any Black woman watching this to expect it, but also understand it. I think the craziest example of this happening to me was a client or potential client who had booked a call to speak with me because she wanted to see if we could work together. She booked this call, got on the call, and then as soon as I opened my mouth, she said, "Oh, you sound strange. Where are you from?" And I laughed because it's not new. I don't have the standard American accent that a lot of coaches have. And so I said, "Hey, I'm originally Nigerian. I grew up in the UK, and then I moved to Canada with my family," which usually suffices. But then she wasn't satisfied. She then said, "Oh, what are your qualifications? Like, what qualifies you to do the work that you are doing?" Looking back on that conversation now, I wish I had handled it differently because I wish I had given her a piece of my mind and just educated her on the level of craziness that she was spewing. What made that even worse was because she was also a Black woman, but she was a Black American woman. And when I brought it up with some of my friends and colleagues, people were like, "Yup, that has happened to me." And it seemed like it was a pandemic, everybody had experienced it. So I realized that being underestimated is something that a lot of people experience, but they don't know how to deal with it. And I think it's not okay. It's not all right. This is not a rant video. It's just telling you what the reality is. It's not okay. I think there was a time when I was like, "Oh, you underestimate me. I need to prove myself." You don't need to be proving yourself to anybody. If you have the experience, you have the accolades, you have the qualifications that allow you to do the work you're doing, sis, you don't need to be proving yourself again and again and again and again. So, yes, it is real. You will be underestimated. But I want to share with you some of the things I started to do when I realized that every time people met me, they practically saw a young Black girl and they thought, "Ah, how are you able to make so much money? Something dodgy must be going on." I even remember someone once asking and saying, "Who got you that handbag?" expecting me to say it was a gift. And I said, "No, I bought it myself." And I could see the look of surprise on their face, like, "You got it yourself." And it happens in different ways, different shapes or different forms, where people think it's either the man in your life is wealthy or some rich sugar daddy somewhere has given you something. This is how I've been navigating it in case you've experienced that and you just want a few tips or pointers on what to do. I think the first step really for me has been to stop explaining myself. In the beginning, and this is like 7 years ago, I was very quick to explain that, hey, I have a master's in this and that. I worked for 10 years in corporate banking, and I just basically gave them my resume to try and make them see that I was indeed qualified for the work that I'm doing. I don't do that again, and I don't think you should, because I think once you start to entertain people who underestimate you, your logical responses are never good enough for them. It's just not going to satisfy the question they're asking. And the question they're really asking is, how dare you? Like, how dare you be here? How dare you be self made? How dare you be making so much money? How dare you be a successful black woman? Like, whatever it is that you think is an explanation, it's not going to work. So, save your strength, stop explaining. The second thing that I think is important for a lot of people to do, and I think this has really helped me, is I started to write down all the reasons why I deserved to be where I was. And I do it all the time. I always have like a notebook with me, and some of those notebooks, I call them my alignment notebook. In my alignment notebook or my alignment journal, I ask myself pretty deep questions and I write the answer as if I was writing to someone else. And that gives me the opportunity to see and remind myself of who I am. One of the questions that I ask myself every single year is, how did I get here? And when I say, how did I get here, is basically writing all my accomplishments. I was first in debating society, I was this and that, and I write out every accolade. I do the exercise every year because every year I feel like I need to remind myself of why I am a badass boss babe. And I think it's a practice that every single woman out there should be doing, especially if you're black. Like, you need to remind yourself of why you are that babe, and don't let anybody rain on your parade. I think another thing that has really helped, that has helped me to also realize that it's not me, it's them, is starting to surround myself with other accomplished women. Not just, and they don't necessarily have to be your friends. They don't have to be people that you speak to on the phone every single day or you are going to events with, but these are accomplished people who are also millionaires that I call and have conversations with. And sometimes it's good to see that it's not about you. It's not you doing something wrong. I remember one of my friends telling me, the next time someone asks you where you're from, ask them why that is important. And she's an American, and she basically said to me, look, when people ask you that, that is a microaggression. I didn't know what it was called because growing up, I didn't have microaggressions, or we were taught to ignore such things. And she said, no, the more you ignore it, the more it damages your self-esteem, and then you start doubting yourself and you start questioning what is happening in your life. But the moment you start to tackle it head on, not in an aggressive way, but in a forthright way. If somebody comes and says, hey, where are you from? My response is, why is that important? And I'm sorry to say this, but a lot of the people who even do this are African women themselves. It's so crazy that sometimes they feel like, if I'm not there, how did you get there? And so they start to ask stupid questions. And so when you surround yourself with people who also are holding themselves to a higher standard, it reminds you of who you are. It keeps you from slipping back into that um, ground floor level where you feel like you need to keep explaining and defending yourself. On top of that, I also started to do something where, if I feel like somebody is a bad fit for me as a client, I just say no. No, I don't want to work with you. No, I don't think I'm going to drop my price. And no, I'm not making any sort of adjustment to make your life easier, right? Because when you start to adjust yourself for people, they start to feel entitled. And that is part of the reasons why now growing your business is difficult. Like, you have to be able to have strong and clear definitions of who it is you want to work with. And I've shared this before on this channel that part of the reasons I closed some of my programs down last year was because I thought about who I wanted to be, who I deserved to be. And I realized that this group of clients were not exactly what I was reaching for, not exactly what I want my brand to be about or my business to be about. And sometimes you need to make some difficult decisions and cut out those areas that make you doubt yourself and make you question yourself and make you building your successful life more difficult. While you're cutting out clients, please defriend people as well. I know it's hard to hear. A lot of people don't like to hear it. But I feel like there's some groups of people that when you're friends with them, it makes you question your value. And if you are already questioning your value, then you allow other people question your value and get away with it. And sometimes you just need to realize that not everybody can stay your friend forever. There are some people that need to go. There's some people that if they don't call you to a higher standard and they don't encourage you to be the best version of themselves, of yourself, then they really shouldn't be your friends. You have permission to block and delete them. There are people who you love genuinely, but shouldn't be in your life every day because they are not allowing you to rise. And I think that what I'm trying to say essentially is, even though it feels painful when people are questioning you and people don't feel like you are valuable enough to pay you certain amounts, or just a lot of shenanigans are going on, you actually owe it to yourself to hold yourself to a higher standard. And the moment I started to do that personally in my business, I realized that it was me all along. I had the responsibility of who to let into my life and who to let out. And that includes clients. You can decide which clients to work with. You can decide who to sell to. You can decide how you're going to do it. And at the end of the day, you take full responsibility for everything you're going to be doing. I've met people who have the money to pay you, but they don't want to pay you because somewhere in their brain they've decided that you don't deserve that amount of money. And even though you can do a lot of things in marketing to, lead with your reviews and your testimonials and show that you can be trustworthy, some people just don't want to pay you because they don't want to give you that money. If you decide to take the nonsense they're giving to you, then that's on you. But if you hold yourself to a higher standard and be like, no, this is not the rate I want, and therefore I'm sorry, we cannot work together, you start to find that you filter out the noise, the rubbish, and you start to find the people that actually value you for who you want to be or who you are. I think at the end of the day, the whole building a business thing is hard. But you don't want it to be harder because you haven't set boundaries and because you're carrying around a lot of self-doubt. I think self-alignment is a very important exercise that everybody needs to go through. Everybody needs to visit self-alignment. I think I'm going to do more videos on just how to realign yourself and make sure that you are who you want to be, not who you were. I think, in fact, while I'm talking about who you were, because a lot of people started from grassroots, you'll hear a lot of entrepreneurs tell their story and be like, hey, I started from nothing. I didn't have money growing up. My family didn't have money growing up. It makes you feel like that is your identity. And that is why you allow people rubbish you. But that's not your identity. I think over the past few months, one of the internal work I've really been doing is just to realign myself to say, I am not my past. I am who I am now. And I just encourage everybody to do the alignment exercises to make sure that you are selling from who you are right now and not from your past. You're building the business from who you are now, not from your past entity. And you're holding yourself and even your clients to a very high standard. You are leading with your value and not trying to people please. I don't know if this video has been valuable because I try not to make these videos long. I could talk for the next hour about just what realignment has looked like and the things that I've had to let go to make sure that I'm realigned. And the truth about being a black woman in business is that realignment and alignment should be your priority. Otherwise, you attract a lot of rubbish in the market. So I can talk about this for until I'm blue in the face, but I don't want to do that to you. I just wanted to share what was on my mind and just hope that it helps somebody, it affirms somebody or encourages somebody, especially because I sell high ticket products. And so when it comes to selling high ticket, a lot of people have allowed people to trample all over them. Anyway, long story short is I hope that you found this video valuable, and if you did, do me a favor, actually let me know in the comments, because I see you guys watching but you don't say anything. So let me know. I'll see you in the next video where I might be talking more about what it feels like to be growing a business as a realigned person, or maybe not. Whatever questions you have, please ask, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.